He enjoys her class.
Okay, hello. Pleasant evening, ladies and gentlemen, students, other persons who will be just enjoying this session this evening. My name is Winklet Gallimore. I'm the Associate Dean for the Student Experience, and it is my pleasure to be with you here this lovely evening. And it's actually not raining, it's beautiful. Okay, so today we have with us Professor Marcia Roye, who is a professor of molecular virology, all these big fancy names. But hey, we are in the Faculty of Science and Technology, so you expect to see these wonderful types of names that stretch our capacity, etc. Okay, so the first gen program, this is the first gen series, a part of the first gen series, and this program is really designed to help persons who are first in their generation to recognize that you are well able to do everything that other persons can do. You know, you may have some challenges, some other challenges dealing with, but we want to see how we can actually support you and help you to be the best version of yourself as you go through this university experience and recognize that, you know, we are indeed that light rising from the west, and indeed we can be great. And of course, you know, you are in the Faculty of Greatness. This is the Faculty of Science and Technology. The last time we were together, we actually had Professor Donna Hope, who is not from the Faculty of Science and Technology, but really there's a lot of lessons that we learned last time. And I'm absolutely delighted that Professor Marcia Roye, who is a first gen herself, is going to be able to share with us some gems that she would have picked up from being on the very soil, well, you're not on virtual soil, on the very places that you will walk next semester, hopefully. You know, those very places is where she walked when she was a student. So she's really not that old. I'm making it sound like she's old, but she really isn't, because she's just as young as I am, right? So,
Right.
right. So we welcome to start this interview session Professor Marcia Roye, Professor of Molecular Virology. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, good afternoon, good
Awesome.
evening, ladies and gentlemen. So, in 2011, I won an award from UNESCO and L'Oreal, and they made a little video of my life. So, that's my introduction. So, I've asked the team here to play it for me. So, I think that will say what I have to say better than anything else I'm going to say here. So, I'm asking the team to share the video and let us start.
Okay, awesome. Let us get that video up.
I'm not hearing anything.
Yes, we're waiting on the audio. Okay. Okay. We'll just wait on the audio to come back so we can have that happening. Okay, no problem. In the meanwhile, how was your day, Professor Roy?
Oh, I had a good day. I had a level one class today, and that was a lot of fun. The students were very excited because I showed them this video and they were very inspired. So I thought I would share it here this
Awesome. Oh,
afternoon. I think it was 160 students online in a class. And yeah, they were really sharing with me, answering my questions. So I didn't feel alone. So that was very nice.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, we're ready to roll.
She's an accomplished scientist. She's a wonderful mother.
You only have to spend 5 minutes with me to know that I love my job.
She expects the highest.
She had an intense desire. In fact, I could describe it as a passion to excel.
When you know that you can impact people directly, people you love, people you grow up with, and you can make a difference in their lives, it helps you to get up in the morning, regardless of how difficult it is. And it keeps you going because these people are depending on you. The virus that infects the tomato, you have two of them. I am the plant doctor. We go to the fields and we collect the plants that look like they're affected. We identify what the virus is using DNA sequencing, and based on the identity of the virus, then we can decide how we are going to treat those plants to make them better. The second project that we're working on, we're looking at antiretroviral drug resistance in adults and children that are infected with HIV. In the future, I definitely want to continue science and do research. There is a point when you're doing research, when you're looking at a piece of data, when at that point you are the only person out of 6 billion people who have that information, that you hold it for just a few seconds and don't share it with anybody because I love that feeling. You're helping people that you know, you're helping the country. It's a win-win situation if we're able to be successful at this. This is not some abstract research that we're doing in the lab and it gets published and stays there. It has direct impact on people's lives.
She's beyond on time. She's way before time.
So my husband is very supportive of my career. You know, he's not one of those alpha male who has a problem with his wife doing well or even doing better than he is. He's very happy.
She doesn't like so much of the limelight. Her work will speak for her.
What she has done, very few people have done. And we should really use her as an example to take ourselves up even further.
I'm infinitely proud of that she finally gets a lot more acknowledgement, and she's much happier now that she gets all this recognition after all her hard work. And when I look at her, I'm so encouraged to beat her at getting higher in education.
Looking at where we're from a humble and poor family. Very poor we were. And to see my daughter getting this high, you know, being a scientist at the university, it makes me very happy.
I tell my students that when I retire, they will be in charge of my world and my kids will be at the stage where they're at. So I'm doing it for me, I'm doing it for them, and I'm also doing it for my children. So if everybody does well, then we all do well.
I love the way you are.
Awesome.
I even love hearing you.
Awesome. Yeah, the tugs on your little heartstrings there, eh? Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
When my son said he's going to beat me at getting higher in education, that is one race that I don't mind losing. Go, Jess.
Awesome. Okay, so we saw some snippets of your story a while ago. We saw your mother, you know, the lady who looks like she checks, she's the one who sews all the uniforms in the community, that type of a thing. And we see that is a farming community that you're associated with. Tell us more about your story. Tell us more about how you reached UWI Mona campus from St. Elizabeth. If I don't know anything else about you, I know you come from St. Elizabeth.
So I'm from St. Elizabeth. I went to Bull Savannah Primary and Ballas Valley Primary. I hope we have some St. Elizabeth people listening, okay? Then I went to past Common Entrance and went to Hampton. And when you're a student and you're a good student, everybody expects that you should become a doctor, that you should do medicine. But I never liked hospitals. And when I visited my stepfather in the hospital, I fainted. So I know medicine was not the thing for me.
Okay.
So when I was at Hampton, I love Hampton and it has impacted my life greatly. But when I was there, I didn't want to go back to sixth form. So I went to Knox Community College to do sixth form.
Okay.
And my friend Jean, I was passing through the administrative office, and my friend Jeanette Williams and Anne-Marie Beadle, they were in the office and they had some forms. And I said, what are those forms? And they said, those are UWI forms. I said, beg you one. And they gave it to me, and we fill out the forms, and we submitted them, and that's how I came to be at the university. It wasn't any big plan to say that I'm going to any university or anything. This is the true story. This is how it happened. Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you, Anne Marie, because that's why. That's part of why I'm here today. So that's how it
Wow.
happened. That's how I came to be at the university. In fact, in those days, you would get an acceptance letter with a card in it, and you had to fill out the card and take it back to say you are going to accept the offer. And it was Anne Marie and I who went to Kingston together because I couldn't go to Kingston by myself, being a little bush girl
Wow.
from St. Elizabeth. So this is how I came to be at UA.
Wow, 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 wow. So it wasn't like, in your high school or at community college, they said to you, this is something you should aspire towards. Is that the case?
That's not what I remember. I remember seeing Anne Marie and Jeanette in the office. So it was the principal at the office who would give you the forms to go to apply. And they
Yeah.
had the forms, and I didn't know anything about it. I just saw them with the forms and I asked, and they gave me one. I would fill it out. We handed it back into the office, and then they would submit it to the university. And
Okay.
then we get a letter to say we are accepted, and then we have to take back that card.
Okay, okay.
That's
So
what
what if you
happened.
never fast? If you never fast and ask questions, then what would
Maybe,
happen?
maybe it could have did miss me. Who knows what could have happened if I didn't
Yes.
pass through the office that day.
That is amazing. That's an amazing story. So we saw on the video where your mom, and I don't know if it's your sister who was also making a comment about you, but yeah, what did your mother say when you got accepted to university?
But my stepfather, he was a construction engineer. He worked at Alpart, and he says, "University, no man, you must do practical things." And
Okay.
so he took me to heart NTA, and I applied there too. And I had
Okay.
applied to UWI. So I got accepted to both. So Mama said, "Well, which one are you going to choose?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to UWI." And she said, "Boy, it's a lot of money, but don't worry about it. Wherever we need to find it from, we will find it." Because you see, Mama sit down at her sewing machine. She sew
Yes.
people uniform to send me to school, and she's still down in St. Elizabeth 30 how many years later, sewing uniform because that's what she loves.
Wow, 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 wow. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So what about you? You grew up with your mother and your stepfather?
I grew up with my mother and my stepfather. I never knew my biological father. I met him one time when I was 31.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting story. So you have no excuses, eh? We have no
No,
excuses
no,
whatsoever.
no,
No
not at all.
excuses.
And Mama sitting there at her machine, what I always hear my mother say, she said that if fire falling from the sky, you're going to school. So we knew that school was the most important thing. So in St. Elizabeth, sometimes kids wouldn't go to school on Friday because they would help on
Right,
the farm. But we are going
right.
to school every day. We are not only going to school every day, and she had 7 children, and everybody going to school. You get up in the morning, you make 6 breakfasts, and you make 7 breakfasts, and you pack 7 lunch, and everybody going to school every day of the week. No question asked. If fire falling from the sky, you're going to school. Friday school not important, but we still had to go to school every day. Not only that, Dr. Gallimore, we were the first people in school. Every morning we're the earliest one there. So you can't joke yourself because mama said, fire fall from the sky, you're going to school. So you're going to school. End of story. So no
I
excuse.
got you. So are you the oldest of the 7 kids?
I am the third. So I have an older brother and an older sister, and then I have 4 that comes after me. So I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle.
Okay. So those ahead of you didn't have any university aspirations, or it just didn't, the path just didn't cross, with someone in an office saying that there's a
Well,
form that you can fill out.
remember in those days, what used to happen is that
You
I
make
went
it
to
sound like
high
you're so
school
old.
in 19, I went to high school in 1981, and you would do common entrance. And at that time in St. Elizabeth, there were 2 high schools, Hampton and Monroe. So if you didn't pass the
Okay,
common entrance, then you would go to a secondary school, which is what they call the upgrade to the high school today. So my sister
okay.
and my brother, they went there, and I passed the common entrance the second time, and I went to Hampton. So that is what happened. Afterwards, when my sister was a little older, then she went to Hampton. But that's how it happened. So I was also the first one in high school. Not only the first one at university, but also the first one of mama children in high school.
Okay. Wow. Awesome, 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 awesome. So there were a lot of other persons in your community, and I'm sure they didn't get to they didn't have some of the experiences that you've had. You know, why do you think what is it was a separator, you think? You think your mother was that important element in the mix?
Of course, when your mother tell you that if fire falling from the sky, you're going to school, you go to school. And that means that education is the most important thing in your life and you do well. End of story. You don't argue with it. You hear that every day, all the time. So education became very important. So I always love my book. I always love to read. You know,
Awesome.
my grandmother Mimi, in St. Elizabeth, when I was growing up, she said that she always knew that I was going to be a teacher because when I used to teach my siblings, remember there were seven of us, and they wouldn't listen to me, then I would teach the bush and along the driveway. So the bush was my class. And when the bush
I
don't
understand.
listen, I would beat the bush. So she always told me when I'm at university, when I became a lecturer, she said, I always knew because you always love teach the bush.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, for me, I used to teach. I used to have a whole set of dollies, and I used
Okay.
to teach them. They used to have like an exercise book. Trust me, I had the whole story down
Couldn't,
pat. Okay,
couldn't
awesome.
afford no dolly. Couldn't afford no dolly. So my
No,
classes
I mean, yeah, you
was
make your
the
dolly,
bush.
my dear. You
Oh,
make
you make
them.
them?
You construct them. Yes.
Okay. Yes, we used to make them.
Awesome, especially with your mother doing sewing. Yes,
Doing
man. And
sewing. Yeah. Yep.
they'll be
That's
all
true.
fashionistas and everything. Have new clothes every day. Anyway, what made you have the audacity to think that you could succeed at UA?
I told you, Mama said knowledge and education is important. So my friends were going, and just like any normal teenager, you want to go with your friends. But also, I was always a good student, even at Hampton, even at my primary school. I didn't know that, but I was always a good student. And when I look back at it, what I remember, the first time I realized that I was a good student. So we got to Sunday school, okay? And this Sunday, when we went to Sunday school, our Sunday school teacher, Pablo, did not come to Sunday school. So we had to join the bigger kids. I was about 8 or 9. And
Hmm.
they were doing a Bible quiz. And so
Okay.
so these two classes joined, the small kids, that was us, and the bigger kids, and we did a Bible quiz. And next Sunday they would announce who get the best grade in the quiz, and that was me. And I got a Bible
Wow.
storybook. And when I look back at it, it didn't mean anything to me then, but when I look back at it, maybe that was the beginning. But yeah, when I
Okay.
went at high school and in primary school, I did okay. I read my book. I was very quiet. People would
Hmm.
ask my mom, Miss Diane, good evening, Miss Diane Curtis. They would say, Miss Diane, then Marcia can't talk. Me never hear she talk yet. But sometimes when you're not talking, that means that you're listening. Maybe you're listening and learning. But
True
they
words. True
always
words.
thought that the bright ones would talk. But I was very
Yes.
quiet, listening or reading my book. So that's what I love.
Awesome.
That's what I
Awesome.
love.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. What did you have as the main challenges that you faced as a first gen student with parents who didn't attend universities, with older siblings who didn't attend university? What were some of the challenges that you came upon when you entered the university space?
So when I came to UWI, I mean, you and I came the same time. That was the year of Gilbert, 1988. We came to school. We came to UWI Sunday evening and we started school Monday morning. No orientation, no nothing. But I was happy to leave St. Elizabeth, and we were
Yeah.
going to leave in September, and then
Had to
Gilbert
stay.
came, and we have to
Yes.
stay for another month, and we never started
Yes.
until we're looking forward, the whole
Yes.
summer to come at town, to come to Kingston, and then Gilbert hit, and everything was put off. And then I think we started around about October, November, but it was hard because we didn't get any orientation, any time to fit in. We hit the ground running,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and the thing that was hardest for me, we did not have any telephone in St. Elizabeth, so I couldn't call my mother. So if she wanted to
Okay.
communicate with me, she had to write a letter. and she would post it, and it would come through the post a week and a half later, and then I would write her a letter. At the end of the academic year in 1988, we got a telephone. So the second year I could call her, but the year before, so it was very lonely. I had my
Yes.
friends. These are good friends from Knox Community College. And I had some friends from Hampton. And that we supported ourselves. We cooked together. We studied together. We got to the same classes. But sometimes I want to hear somebody who talk like how I talk down St. Elizabeth. So
I
I have
got it.
one cousin in Kingston, my cousin Juliet, and she work at halfway tree, near halfway tree. And sometimes I would just take the bus and go down there and sit down and talk to her because we talk a different language. Everybody understands us. And I would leave Mary Sequel where I used to live. And when you're in St. Elizabeth, every adult you pass on the street, you say good morning. Otherwise,
Morning.
I would tell mama, say, your big daughter passed me and she get too big now. She not tell me good morning. Please talk to her. She not have no manners. So when I'm at UWI, everybody will pass me say good morning. Until my friends say you need to stop that. Then we know say a country you come from. So it was very strange, and it was lonely because you don't have any family members with you, but you
Yeah.
had good friends, and we were the ones who supported each other. It couldn't
Awesome.
happen without Heather and Avery and Jeanette and Doreen. Man, it was a good time, and we supported each other because we were all coming from different places in this new
Yeah.
environment, and the only way we could survive is if we did it together.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So did you feel pressure from your community or from your family that you have to succeed? Did that play into the equation in terms of your experience as well?
Pressure? No, sir. Everybody just glad to say their university.
Yeah, but isn't that pressuring? Because I
No,
mean,
no, no,
no,
no. There was no pressure. Nobody no go to university from in my family before. So you are at university and everybody's proud of you.
right. So it means that is was there so there were you didn't feel any pressure to perform, to to
No,
to not fail the people the exams.
nobody never said nothing to me. Mama say you just go on and do your best that you can, and wherever we need to find the money, then we'll find the money. I took
Okay.
student loan when I was there, and she down there sewing her uniform. And when she get the money, she put in our envelope and mail it to me. Okay,
Wow.
that's what used to happen. So God
Wow.
bless Miss Diane and her uniform them.
I
Ain't
see
no
what you're
professor
saying.
today.
Okay, okay.
And I know
Because
lots of kids who have similar experience.
mhm,
They
yeah,
don't have a lot of funding or a lot of support, but they come and they make it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I do interface with students now who, really they do feel the pressure that they are the last hope, in many instances for their families, and so there's that expectation that you're going to pass the exams, and then of course, sometimes you don't pass, and sometimes your parents don't know that you didn't pass, eh? That type of a thing does happen in some instances. So you passed all of your exams here on the UWI Mona campus.
No, even when I did CSEC, I failed math and I did it again. So I'm just telling everybody, just because you can't do math very well, that don't mean you cannot become a professor. And I tell my class all the time, okay? So I failed CSEC math, I did it over and I passed
Awesome.
it. When I was at UWI, I decided that I'm going to do a math course. My friend Ajay said, so you can't do maths. But I thought I would challenge him, man. Of course, I could pass the maths. And you know what happened? I never passed the maths. So I was actually at level 1 for 2 years. 2 years. Everybody gone, leave me. Everybody gone to level 2 to advance. And I was still at level 1 because I never listened to my friends who tell me, Marcia, so you can't do maths.
So you did this degree in 4 years instead of 3? Is that what you're
I
saying?
did this degree in 4 years instead of 3. Yes.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That is very, very important. Thank you very much for sharing that.
And mama
Here on
never
campus.
complain. Mama never complain about the school fee or anything. She's just happy that you're getting through. She never said, then should I finish now? No. She just wants to know how you're doing. And you just go on and do what you have to do. And wherever we have to find the money, we find the money. That
Awesome,
was it.
awesome,
That was
awesome.
all the pressure I felt. So
Wow.
thank God for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so the math was the one course I failed at this university, but so it
No.
is, so it is. We give thanks we made it through, nonetheless. So you didn't
Yeah.
have any pressure. That's awesome. But what do you think is the type of support that UWI can offer to students who are first in their generation to attend universities? Is there anything in particular, that we can actually do to help them through this navigate this type of environment?
You
That's
know, I've been teaching at the university for about 20 years. And every time I share my story, even in my class or you share a little bit, there are students in there who tell you that they go through the same thing. So if we just share our story like we're doing now, and
yeah,
we can let our students know that their lives are not much different from ours. Me never born Professor Roy and you didn't born Dr. Gallimore. We came up through the ranks just like them. We experience all the things that they're experiencing. So
definitely,
support,
definitely,
like this that you're doing here, this same initiative, just to tell your story, to encourage them, because somebody's going to remember that so
yeah,
Prof come from down at St. Elizabeth Bush and she come at town and she couldn't do maths, but she still became a professor. So if me
yeah,
fail the one maths course or the one course, gonna kill me, just do it again and
definitely,
move
definitely,
on. So the support is important. If you can
definitely,
have family members, and the other thing that you need good friends, and you need friends with like-minded goals. You don't need people who are going to waste your time, who are not
definitely.
interested in doing work. You need like-minded people who have like-minded goals. That's very important, because sometimes some people can waste your time, and you know
Most
how that
definitely,
is. So
most
share
definitely.
your
I will.
story, find a good group of people who can support you. Jesse always said when he came to university and he did comsci and he had his friends, sometimes they live in my house for weeks, they help each other. Teamwork make the dream work. That's what he
Awesome,
always
awesome,
said.
awesome. Yes, so it's important to find your tribe and
Yes.
hang with that tribe. I
And
mean,
hang,
even in the virtual space, you
yeah.
can find your tribe.
The right
Awesome.
tribe, the right tribe, because some people will
Definitely.
waste your time. Don't forget.
Definitely, definitely. What do you think are some of the current 2020 challenges that our first gen students are facing though?
Boy, last semester when I started teaching online, I was wondering if I could do it. So I was imagining myself as a student learning online. And the learning, it's not so bad. We're working our way through it. The labs are challenging for me, and it's challenging for my students. So I have a molecular biology lab that I'm doing now. And I've spent 10 hours online trying to explain the information to different group of students.
Right.
So the thing that you have to remember is when you have challenges, I just say to myself, so boy, Lord, you must have a whole lot of work to do with me, because you bring this problem again, and now you're trying to teach me a lesson so I can overcome, so I can come out stronger on the other side. So
Right.
challenges make you stronger. It's important to be disciplined. Remember, you need to write your report. You need to study for your exam. You have to tell yourself that you need to do it, and do it. Don't fool yourself and waste your time. Manage your time properly. If you're sitting and you're over the book and you're studying for 2 hours and you're not learning anything, so get up and go and watch a movie or enjoy yourself or take a walk. But don't fool
Right.
yourself and you say,
Right.
okay, you spent 3 hours, but you haven't learned anything. So do something and then come back and work on what you need to get done. And the
Okay.
most important thing, if you need help, ask for it.
Yeah.
Even in my job as associate dean for graduate studies, sometimes I have some issues and I'm not too sure how to deal with it, and I have to ask my colleagues for help. I just have to swallow my pride and say, boy, I need help with this because I'm not sure what to do. So if you need help, ask for it.
Awesome.
And if you inspire to be something, ask those people who are at the place where you want to be how they got there, because their story is not going to be very different from yours. So you want to know how to be a professor of molecular virology, you can come talk to me.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So, I mean, we do have students who are under stress, and we've been talking a lot about mental health issues that our students are navigating right now. Countless assignments, some unstable home environment, they have to be at home And sometimes university is an escape from
home.
being in that home environment, and sometimes they don't have the support. They don't have a Miss Doris. Your mother is Doris?
Dion, Miss Dion.
Dion. Okay. Yeah, they don't have a Miss Dion behind them saying, yes, you can do it. I believe in you, and not asking them, how come you fail exams? That type of a thing. Limited Wi-Fi access, all of these factors come into the mix in terms of the students being highly stressed. Do you have any particular advice from them in this, in this environment with COVID and all of these other factors? They've never seen their lecturers, that type of a thing.
My dean suggested that I have virtual office hours online. So that's not a tutorial, that's not a lab, that's not a lecture. That's just a time when my students can come into the virtual classroom and we discuss anything that is going on. So that can help. They can reach out to us. The other thing that you can do, remember, everybody needs to relax. You can't be working all the time. So how I relax, I read a book, sometimes I watch a movie. Sometimes I do a lot of my work at home now because of the COVID. And sometimes in the middle of the day, I just take a nap because I am just tired.
Yeah.
So you have to know yourself and know your limits and find something that you enjoy. So whatever stress is going on, you find a way to relax. Maybe you need to take a walk. Every time I have a headache or something, my husband will say, drink some water, that will help you. Water and rubbing alcohol, he thinks will solve everything. So put some alcohol on it or drink some water. But you need to find something that you enjoy and you love that you can use to de-stress. And for me, it's reading. I like to read.
But don't drink the alcohol though.
No, don't drink the rubbing alcohol or the alcohol. Well, maybe a little sip of alcohol now and again won't kill you.
Good for the stomach say. That's what they say. Okay. Awesome. We're getting a lot of comments from your students, I believe, and that's awesome that they are online this evening.
Yeah, Nadisha, it's LOL. Nadisha come from St. Elizabeth. I know Nadisha.
Hi, Nadisha.
Hello, Nadisha. She come from St. Elizabeth. All right.
Awesome. Good stuff. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the research work that you do. Give us a sneak peek into your research life.
So in my final year at university, how I became a researcher, one of my Professor McLaughlin, he was one of my lecturers, and he said, I have some work that I want you to try, not as part of your degree, but I just want you to come in my lab and do some work. I don't know why he chose me. I was a class rep, and I tell you, I was always good at taking my book, so I did well when I was at UWI. And Winklet, I'm telling you that the first day that I went into the lab and I put on my little lab coat, I remember it up to today. And what we were doing, we were growing red peas, and we would inoculate it with rhizobium to let it nodulate to see if how many nodules it would produce. And I put on my little lab coat, and he gave me the containers to put the soil in and to put the red peas in. From that day until today, I knew that I want to be a researcher. I felt so good doing my little experiment by myself. Just the lab coat alone made me feel important. Okay? My sister Peggy is in Canada and she's online. Good evening, Peggy. I see that she's there.
Awesome.
I just knew that I wanted to be a researcher. So it was Professor McLaughlin who picked me out of the crowd and said, come and do this. And when I finished my degree, I continued to work with him in the summer, and I did my PhD with him, and he taught me about research, and he was very instrumental. But the first day I came into his lab, I knew that this is what I want to do. Like, some bell or whistle or something goes off in my head, and I knew this is what I wanted to do, and I haven't looked back. Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate it.
Wow. When I hear you talk, it just really underscores the importance of having people around you, and because you cannot succeed in life without people. There's nowhere you can go, and without we're all, we know the saying, if you see a turtle on a fence post, it didn't get there by itself. And quite often, sometimes we have our pride and we think that, yeah man, I got this. But the truth really is that if we don't have people propelling us on, people helping us to move from, on people believing more in us than
Yeah.
we can even see in
I
ourselves.
never asked him what he saw in me. I'm afraid to ask him, and I haven't asked him yet. And Prof. Mac just retired this year. So maybe one day I will work up the courage to ask him why he chose me. But apart from that, when you talk about people, so we started this research on Gemini virus, and I'm going to show you a little presentation on my plant viruses that I'm doing. And we couldn't do some of the work here in Jamaica. So he met Professor Maxwell in Wisconsin, and I went to Professor Maxwell's lab, Doug Maxwell lab, I think 5 times.
Okay.
And Winklet, he was like a father to me.
Wow.
So we work all day. On Saturdays, just me and him in the lab, and he would take such patience. I always thought that he thought I wasn't smart because he would take such patience to teach me things. Okay? And if I don't get it right, I work really hard, but I can't figure out these sequences for these viruses, and I have to swallow my pride and I have to go to him, and he would teach me something. And I haven't forgotten any of those lessons at all. So Professor Mac, thank you also, Professor Maxwell, Douglas Maxwell at the University of Wisconsin. But I will tell you that Professor Maxwell broke my heart, you see, because I went to his lab 5 times. Every summer, I've gone to his lab when I'm doing my PhD, until one day he looked at me after the 5th visit. He said, I've taught you everything that I can. You need to find some new experiences. So he was telling me not to come back.
Wow, but
And
that is big. That is big.
but I will tell you what happened after that. So I came back to Jamaica, and the next summer I wanted to go to another lab, and I just email another professor, one of the best professor in the area that I'm studying, Professor Claude Fake at the Danford Plant Science Center. This is a true story. And I emailed him and I said, well, I used to work with Prof. Mac because I have to find new experiences. I used to work with Professor Maxwell, Douglas Maxwell at the University of Wisconsin, and I'm working on Gemini viruses. Can I come to your lab and do some work? And in 5 minutes, Claude Fake from the Danford Plant Science Center in St. Louis, Missouri, responded and said, sure, come on up and bring your graduate students. And that has happened to me several times. I emailed John Stanley at the John Ennis Center. I just read their papers, and I asked him, can I come to your lab? And he said, yes. And the threshold is 5 minutes if they don't answer in 5 minutes. When I wanted to learn something new, I emailed John Krause at the International Potato Center in Peru. And I said, I tried this method in my lab and I couldn't get it done. And I emailed him and he said, sure, come on down. And my student and I, we went to the International Potato Center in Peru. And remember, that's a Spanish-speaking country, and I don't speak Spanish. Okay, so me and my student Soyan went, and when I went there, he had about a dozen other graduate students from places in Central and South America, and he was doing this workshop for the first time. And he said the reason why he's doing it is because I asked him if I can come to his lab to do it, and he thought, well, if Dr. Roy would appreciate this experience, maybe there are other people in Central America who might need it. And he advertised, and a dozen people ended up in a workshop because of the initiative. Some people, I've done it many times, and some people don't answer, don't believe it happens like that every time. But if you need some help, reach out for some help. I promise you that there's somebody out there, and I have been very lucky like that.
Yeah.
But you have to be brave too, and just admit to yourself that you cannot do this in the environment that you're at, and you need some help, and you just reach out. And I have been very blessed. Sometimes I feel like I'm in the crowd and I'm lost, and the Lord just plucked me out and do something special for me. Thank you. Thank you.
There's this saying, fortune favors the bold. You're going to have to stick your neck out. You may get a little bit of a, issues sometimes, but sticking your neck out is an important. And also, one of the things I want you to comment on this, and we spoke a little bit about it earlier, but the concept of being open to failure. Meaning that, recognizing that failure is not final, recognizing that if you failed a course on one occasion, it does not mean that your life is over. It does not mean that there is no other recourse, there's no other way that you can get on the pathway. You may have stumbled And that's it's really, really critical. You may have stumbled a little bit, but get back up again. You only fail when you fail to get
Fail
back
to
up.
try.
You
Yeah.
know?
So remember,
Yeah.
I failed the math. So I was doing zoology, chemistry, and math, and I wanted to do biochemistry. Okay, so I failed the math, so I couldn't move from level one. So the next year I had to look around. Okay, what do I do? Because I only had two CAPE, what they call CAPE subject now, chemistry and biology. So I ended up doing geography and botany. So all my friends who gone to level two, when they see me, they say, "Where you are? We don't see you in classes." So I'm explaining to them that, boy, I failed the math. So they say, "What you doing?" I said, "Boy, I'm doing geography and botany." And my friend look at me and said, "Then how you gonna get from geography and botany to biochemistry?" Okay. But I did well that year. It was lonely because all my friends gone, but I made some new friends. And the next year I applied for biochemistry. Now to register for biochemistry, you have to fill out your name, information, and the next day they put you on a list. And my maiden name was Aldridge. So I go and look on the list and I look at the top and I don't see no A. So that means I didn't get into biochemistry. So what am I going to know? And I'm leaving the notice board, and my friend grabbed me and said, "No, look down here." So my name is Marcia Aldridge, and instead of saying my surname on the form is Aldridge, I put my surname was
Oh,
Marcia and my
yeah, yeah,
first
yeah,
name was
yeah.
Aldridge. So it was there in the middle. And I said,
Wow.
"Thank you, Lord." And I said, "Thank you so much. Every day I'm going to read that biochemistry book." And every day I read that biochemistry book, Biochemistry by Stryer. It ended up in two pieces by the second and third year because every day, if it's Christmas Day, I'm reading one sentence, but I'm reading it. And I loved biochemistry. And I couldn't manage the chemistry because of the physical chemistry and the maths. Okay, I come back to the maths again. I
Oh, so
couldn't
it
manage
is.
it. So in
So
my
it is.
final year, I did some botany courses and I did some soil microbe courses. I always wanted to be a chemist, but that never worked out. And
Is
I
that
will
a
tell
fact?
you,
Imagine that.
I wanted to be you. I wanted to be a chemist. But today I'm a biochemist. And you notice that I'm studying plant viruses. And in that year, when I didn't finish the chemistry because the physical chemistry was giving me a hard time, I did some virology course and some plant biochemistry course, which actually helped me in my research now.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
that is
Awesome.
the way it was supposed to
To
be.
be.
But I
The
didn't know that
pathway.
at
You
the time. I didn't know
awesome.
that at the time. But it
Awesome.
worked out.
Awesome. Awesome.
It worked out.
Awesome.
So I
So
promised that I was going to
yes.
show you a presentation on my viruses. So um share screen. So I'm gonna do that and see if I can share a little bit about my viruses. So anybody in the group who see these plants? So in 28 years of research, I've found about 28 different Gemini viruses infecting plants and crops in Jamaica. So don't worry about the name, just look at the plants. So this is broad bean or lima bean, some people call it, with a virus called bean golden mosaic virus. This is cabbage, and the cabbage have two viruses, and one of them is cabbage leaf curl Jamaica virus, and I'm the first person to discover the cabbage leaf curl Jamaica virus.
Wow.
This is tomato and hot pepper, and they have two viruses: tomato yellow leaf curl virus, which is the most severe virus infecting tomatoes globally, but it has a second virus called tomato dwarf leaf curl virus. I'm the first person to discover that. Now, remember, Winklet, my brother Mike down in St. Elizabeth planting tomatoes and planting cabbage, and it's been affected by this virus. When we go to collect sample, we go down to St. Elizabeth and I go to the field of my neighbor and the plants are infected. So it was very important for me to try and find a solution for those problems.
Okay.
And so once we characterized the virus, we were able to identify tomato varieties that were not affected by the virus, and we advised the farmers to plant those. Okay, remember,
Okay.
I come from St. Elizabeth Bush, so I also work with a lot of bush viruses. I can't say weed because weed in Jamaica means something else, but that's the proper scientific term. So these are my bush viruses. All of them, you see, they have yellow mosaic, jatropha, gossipyfolia, Acroptylium, Costalexia, ring kosher. So I go and I collect the bush with the virus, and in this plant cider, I find 5 different viruses. Okay,
Wow.
this virus also affects It affects a weed in Jamaica, but it affects tobacco in Cuba. And you know, tobacco is very important. This is
Definitely.
Weissedula, and one of them is called Weissedula St. Thomas virus because we found this infected plant in St. Thomas. This is gungo peas with a virus. You know how we like with gungo rice and peas. Papaya is infected with a virus, so we're still trying to figure out what these are. Bougainvillea, you know, the ornamental plant. This is a weed called Borhavia. This is Centrosema. We haven't characterized the virus in this one yet. Costolexia has a virus. We don't know what it is yet. We're still working on it. This is Macroptylium atropurpureum, and it's infected with a virus called Macroptylium golden mosaic virus. Dr. Gallimore, when you find a virus for the first time, you know what you get to do? You get to name it. So that's an original name, Macroptylium golden mosaic virus. Okay?
Awesome.
All right. This is Bastardia. And we think that the virus that's infecting this plant is also infecting papaya. And this is Jatropha multifida. So anybody out there who see these plants and look like they have symptoms, then please bring them to me because you might be a virus discoverer and a virus hunter. Okay? Thank you very much.
Awesome. So after you discover the viruses, what types of treatment do you what is there any particular treatment that comes into the mix?
There is no medicine for plant viruses. Okay, once the plant gets infected with the virus, then it's inside the plant, and the best thing to do is to destroy the plant so it doesn't serve as a reservoir so the virus can be transmitted to other plants. The best thing to do is to find resistant varieties that don't get infected. So we test the different varieties of tomato or cabbage to see which one. So we have identified Gemstar, Gempear, and Gempride, and those tomato varieties don't get infected with the tomato yellow leaf curl virus. So we advise the farmers in St. Elizabeth, including my brother and his wife, Mikey and Jackie, to plant Gemstar and Gempear and Gempride because those don't get infected with the virus. Or Tropicana variety of cabbage because that one doesn't get infected with the virus, or 75% of the plants don't get infected. But you wouldn't be able to do that unless you identify what the virus is. Now, why would you study virus in bush? Because bush is just bush, is not important. But the virus from the bush or the weed can move to the plant if the virus can also infect the plant. But most of the viruses that we have found in the bush or in the weed don't affect the plants. There's just one instance where we found that. So when I started this research at undergrad, you know, my friend said, what are you going to study? I said, I'm going to study viruses in tomatoes, beans, cabbage. She said, those viruses infect us. I said, no. She said, then where I study them for? So that's the approach to plant viruses. So I'm the plant doctor. Thank you very much. But I also study HIV virus, and I was the first person from Jamaica to have a full-length sequence for HIV from Jamaica. So viruses are very similar, and the techniques that we use to study them very similar. So once you learn how to study one virus, the technique is the same. So I can go and study coronavirus now if I feel like it.
Okay, got you. Awesome. So you would obviously have experiences different parts of the world. How many countries have you been to, and what is one significant thing you've learned about the culture of the different places that you've been?
So I've done a lot of work in Wisconsin. I've been to the University of Georgia in Athens, in the state of Georgia. I've been to Missouri. I told you that I've been to Peru. I've been to the University of Toronto, and I've been to the Institute of Human Virology in Baltimore. I've also visited or been to do conferences in Spain. I visited labs in the UK.
Awesome.
And all because of science. All of this has been because of science. This is not a vacation. I go there to do work. In fact, I will tell you that in the first 15 years of my marriage, 10 of those summers I was in a lab. So I would teach during the semester, and during the summer, I go off to a lab to do work. And it's very funny because I like to remind my husband that the 5 summers that I didn't travel, one I was pregnant with my first son, and the next year I was still breastfeeding. When I was pregnant with my second son, I was at a lab doing work. Then 1 year I wanted to travel, but I couldn't get leave. And the
Okay.
next year, when I became associate dean, I thought maybe I should just stay home and stay at UWE and understand how this job worked. The fifth summer when I didn't go, I don't remember why, but I like to go where the experts are and they can teach you, and they treat me so well that I'm always looking somewhere to go. Okay.
Awesome, 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 awesome.
Thing that
So
I've
indeed,
learned when I was
yeah.
in Baltimore, I met a young lady. I had my PhD and I was a senior lecturer, and I met a young lady, Lindsay, and she was a technician in the lab who was teaching me how to work with the HIV virus, because remember I was working with plant viruses. And you
Yeah.
know, HIV is infectious and you have to be very careful with it.
Right.
And we used to have lunch every day. And one day we were talking about mangoes. And she shared with me a story that when she's in Peru, she go up into the mango tree and she pick the mango and she squeeze up the mango and suck the juice out of it so it doesn't get messy. In St. Elizabeth, we call that soppy bobby. So this is a lady in Peru who is eating the mango the same way that we do in St. Elizabeth. So the one thing I've learned as a scientist in all the places that I've visited, the truth is that we are more similar than we are different. And in those labs that I've visited, the major difference that I found is that resources, they have a lot more resources and sometimes they have a lot of expertise. So here in Jamaica, I might be just 3 or 4 of us who are working on gemniviruses, but when I go to Wisconsin, Professor Maxwell have 20 people in his lab working on gemniviruses. So if I have a problem, I say, boy, this is a problem. Becky's going to tell me I had that problem and this is how I solve it. So try that. So that has made a big difference in my life. But the thing that I've learned that we are more similar than we are different. They
Awesome.
experience the same problem. Sometimes the experiment doesn't work and you have to do it again. It's the same thing like we experience here. It's just that we are resource limited. That's the only thing that I've found in all my travels and studies.
Definitely, definitely. Yes. And as you know, as you said that, my mind just went back to because I mean there are probably some graduate students who may be listening in as well, you know, and you think that, you know, okay, you know, they're a doctor this or they're a professor this, they've arrived and you know they haven't had failures and haven't gone through certain journeys. You know, my mind, as I said, as you're talking, my mind went back to that night. I remember when Professor Reese, who's my former PhD supervisor, who was showing me some results. So we didn't have an instrument, and we send the things off to be tested, etc., etc. And yeah, it came back, and the sample wasn't pure, and the frustration that I felt in that moment was like, no, sir. I mean, you put your everything into it, you know, and I'm like, I cannot be. So yeah, man, I bawled in the boss office that day. I had just had it, you know, and so the encouragement to even our graduate students is, you know, you're going to go through some rough patches, you know.
I have a better story for you.
Yeah.
This is the middle of 1995, okay? Near the end of 1995, I finished my PhD. I'm writing my thesis, and we have one computer in the biotech center and 4 of us using it, so we would take turns, okay? And we have our diskette, and we have the one computer and the one printer, and I was 80% finished with my thesis, and I left everything at the biotech center, print off everything the night before, went home, and I came back the next day, and my diskette with all my data was missing. Not everybody diskette who is sitting at the table, just mine, 10 diskette gone. And I've never seen them since. I'm 80% finished, but I print the thesis last night, you know. So I remember I gave Karen Levy the thesis, the document that I had printed, and she had to type it over. Because remember, so we can't type either, now we just pick on the computer keyboard. So she typed it over for me. And I checked Professor Maxwell in Wisconsin, and he had stored my data, and he sent my data.
Wow.
And I was so upset. Guess what happened, Winklet? I was also pregnant. I was pregnant with Jessie. Okay? So what am I going to do now? So the scholarship was $25,000. And you know, that year, round about the same time, they increased the scholarship to $50,000. So I have $25,000 to collect. And I took that money and I bought a computer and I went home. And I did over what I could do. So Karen did the printing for me. Karen Levy did the typing for me. So she gave me that document. Professor Maxwell sent my material from Wisconsin. Some things I'd lost and I had to do over. And I stayed home and I write my thesis and I had my baby and I submit my PhD. And when I called Mama, Mama said, "Don't worry, I'm dear. I got you whole problem in her life." And that's how we did it. And here I'm back. So somebody never liked me, and they took up my diskette for some reason. And guess what happened? Me I breed too. So I'm go home. I'm write my thesis. I'm submit my thesis. I'm have my baby. And then I came back to biotech and started working at the biotech center. So there are going to be problems, but you can. So when I was associate dean, a student actually came and said she had her stuff in the lab and somebody stole her computer, her flash drive with all her data, but her supervisor had some. And I told her this story and it encouraged her.
Sure. Yeah.
And she went and she did her work and she graduated just like me. So there are going to be problems, but they make you stronger. I promise.
Definitely.
And the Lord knows
Definitely.
what He's
Definitely.
doing. The Lord knows what He's doing, so don't worry about it.
Amen, 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 amen. And as we are wrapping up, you are awarded for your contribution to community development, I see, by the Hampton High School. How critical do you think it is for students to really give back to their communities? I know that there's another institution, another university that has it as an obligation that students do community service. What are your thoughts on that, and how has your involvement in your community been of benefit to you? And
You know, when I was growing up, my grandmother and my mother always say it's better to give than receive. I said, what kind of foolishness that? How can it be better to give than receive? Everybody wants to get stuff. But you know, the thing that I find most satisfying in my life is when I help people. So the thing that I am most proud of is I developed with my graduate student a CAPE workshop, and we have hundreds of CAPE biology students who come into our lab each year, along with my friend Dr. Amar Kuhn. And we do a workshop for them on genetic engineering because there are not many people in Jamaica who have that kind of expertise. And we let them extract DNA, and they say DNA for the first time, and they get excited. And I'm telling you, it's a grueling 3 days, and your feet hurt at the end of the day, but you feel good because you're doing something. You're giving back. I go to Woolmaster and I teach for 4 hours, and I have a conversation with those boys, and it's very satisfying. So it's not the salary that I make, it's not the research that I do that makes me feel really good at the end of the day. It's the CAPE workshop that I develop, and I'm helping those CAPE students to understand genetic engineering. That is what I love. I also teach a foundation course, 3,000 students every year. And they are non-science students. So I teach science, medicine, and technology. And I love that class because when you get in there and you start to tell those non-scientists about science, man, they get excited.
It's kind of fun.
Whenever I finish that class, you can bet that I'm going to get an applause. Because when you don't tell them about HIV and you don't tell them about gene therapy and you tell them about DNA profiling and forensic, they are so happy to have somebody to have that conversation with, because they didn't study science in school, but they hear about these things and they want to learn about it. So I also love that course. I love my undergrads and my graduate students, but those things just give me a little nod. So thank you, Dr. Aikelin Amarakun. We've been friends since first form at Hampton. And she helped me develop and do this CAPE workshop every year. Hundreds of high school students come into our lab and we give them a little lab experience, put them in lab, and they're so happy. And when they come to you, we hear Dr. Roye, Dr. Amarakun, because they remember when they came here.
Awesome.
And we gave them that experience.
Awesome.
It's better to give than to receive. I'm telling you, that's what makes you feel good at the end of the day when you lay down and you're contemplating what happened. That is what makes me feel good.
Okay. Awesome. It is just about time to wrap up. And even as we speak about giving back to the communities, I really want to use this as a plug where the CB5K is coming. You know, we have the entity that has been associated with this and has put this on. You know, they've been able to help over 300 students get scholarships over the past 9 years or so. And so, yes, sign up and run or walk, do what you must with the little 5K so that person's lives can be positively impacted. So as we wrap up, I have enjoyed this interview, Professor Marcia Roye. I really appreciate your taking the time to be with us this evening, and really want to also thank Jamonte for being in the background, as well as Timika, who got Jamonte on to do this. We really appreciate it, and I really want to thank those who have been listening in, and of course, you know, share it with other persons, because truly we all need a little bit of inspiration in these times. You know, we all need to have the individuals who are telling us that yes, you can do it. Do you have any final words, Professor Roy, before we wrap this up?
The final thing that I want to say is that in 2011, I got an award from UNESCO and L'Oreal for being a woman in science. And only 15% of women who study science in a tertiary level continue with a career in science. So UNESCO and L'Oreal wanted to recognize me because, you know, I stayed the course, and they gave me 3 million Jamaican dollars. Not to do science, you know, but to buy baby diaper and to
I was
pay
going to
baby
ask you what to do with the money, you know.
So, I shared it with my family because they had supported me, but it was really nice to be appreciated like that. And the video that you saw at the beginning, that was the video that they made about my life. But you know what that did? I would be walking on campus and people would say, Dr. Roy, because I'm very quiet in the biotech center doing my work. I don't know anybody. One day I was going to the health center and Principal Shirley say, hello, Marcia. So Principal, know my name? No. And everybody's saying, hello, Dr. Roy. It was weird at first. So what that award did, I felt like UNESCO and L'Oreal let the world know that I am here. And I go to many high schools and I tell the students about it. So remember that is Miss Diane daughter from Donga St. Elizabeth. And you can do anything that you want to do. The only thing that is standing between you and success is yourself. So reach for the sky. You must have a vision. I don't mean daydream. You must have a vision. You must have a plan. So when I was at university, I was an introvert. I still am. So my dream, my vision was to have a lab in the Blue Mountain, Winklet. And that was before the days of internet. So I would have a helicopter. And of course, if you have a helicopter, that means that you have money. So I would fly my helicopter up into the hills of Blue Mountain with the samples that I collect down in Kingston, because I'm not living in the city because I'm a country girl. And I would take them to my lab, process them, and fly them back down before internet. Okay, don't get upset with me. And my lab in the Biotechnology Center is facing the Blue Mountain, so mission achieved. Okay? So you must have a vision of yourself. You must want to do something to have an impact on people's lives. That's what you want. Hello, Mama. See Mama there online, there and Curtis.
What?
That's my mom.
Imagine that. Awesome. So bless you. And students, I just want to encourage you to stay the course. Keep moving forward. Do not allow anything to stop you. We know we have challenges. We know that we've had unfortunate circumstances that we're facing as a nation, as an individuals in your own lives. But my encouragement to you is to keep on those blinkers, keep it moving, do what you need to do in order to continue to keep moving forward. All right, so bless you. Thank you again, all those who assisted with this program this evening. And as I said, share with others so that others can also be blessed. All right, bye. Thank you very much, Dr. Professor Marcia. Bless you.
For allowing me to do this. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye-bye.